Troy Timothy, Business Administrator. The time is 6:00 p.m.
Well, welcome everybody. We're glad to have you here. We're going to start our meeting off tonight with a reverence from Board Member Vice President Tanya McKee and a Pledge of Allegiance by Board Member Todd Massey.
Our dear Father in heaven, we're grateful for the opportunity we have to meet together and for the people we have the opportunity to serve with. We ask thee to bless that we might have thy spirit to be with us, that we may have a spirit of peace and working together, that we can be able to think clearly and to hear one another's points of view and to have a spirit of community and working together. And we ask these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
First of all, before we get, I have such a loud voice anyway, I'm terrible. I think it's easy to get caught up in sometimes what's going on at our house, but the folks in Meeker, let's keep them in our prayers. There's people that live there right in the middle of town. They've evacuated them all. And so hopefully things turn out well for our neighbors over there. To have to load up and leave everything that you have behind and not know what was going to be there when you went back would be a little bit difficult. So as we get started tonight, anytime through the meeting, there will be a public comment time. Anytime that you want to, if you want to make a comment, there's a sign-up sheet out in the hall. Some of us come in different doors, so if you just sign up out there, please. To start the meeting tonight, welcome to this Truth and Taxation hearing for the proposed judgment levy. We are here tonight for two reasons. First, to provide some background information relating to the proposed judgment levy, and second, to listen to you, our constituents. The board will not be taking action here tonight. Any action related to the proposed judgment levy would take place at the regular business meeting on Wednesday, August 13th at 6 p.m. here in this school district boardroom. We'll turn the time over to Troy Timothy, our business administrator, so that he can explain things to us all a little bit. Troy.
Thank you, President Shivers. Welcome, everybody. We appreciate the turnout and the participation of our community members. You are our constituents, and we want to be transparent and explain things and help you to understand what's behind this and what's going on, and to allay fears and to clear up some misconceptions that I know are floating around right now. But to get started, we've been going through a budget process for the past almost 8 months, since last December actually. And this is the final step in setting our budget. The very final step is certifying the rate with the state. And so in order to do that, we need to first get approval for our rates, and part of that rate is the judgment levy. And so I'm going to take a moment here to explain what's going on, why we're doing this, how it impacts us, and then we will give everybody an opportunity to make public comments. So tonight, like I said, I'm going to talk a little bit about what a judgment levy actually is. And then we're going to talk about our centrally assessed refund history here in Uintah County over the last 5 years. And then levy actually looks like. So I apologize. It's hard to read on the big screen, but this will be available on our website. But we put together a very broad explanation of what a judgment levy actually is. So in Utah, taxing entities are guaranteed the prior year's property tax revenue, more or less. This means that when property values change, there isn't an increase or a decrease to the budget. This makes property tax revenue a stable source of income for taxing entities like counties, school districts, water boards, and such. So we have a Utah State Property Tax Division out in Salt Lake City that assesses certain properties here in the state centrally out of Salt Lake. And those centrally assessed properties are mines, airlines, utilities, and railroad properties. So here in the basin, this impacts us quite a bit because the oil business is considered part of mining. And so they, out in Salt Lake City, assess those property values for taxing purposes. Owners of those centrally assessed properties can then appeal their property taxes. And many of these are larger corporations that have large audit or income tax departments where they have tax attorneys, CPAs, and such that really go through and try to find every angle that they can to make sure that they are taxed fairly. So if they appeal those taxes, then sometimes those appeals are successful. And when they are successful, a judgment or rebate may be awarded for overpaid taxes by the state, sometimes covering multiple years and including interest. So to be able to allow us to not be negatively impacted, because like I mentioned before, we are guaranteed under Utah state tax law to be able to maintain a steady level of property tax revenue. So in order to balance this out, they have come up with, through the truth and taxation process, something called a judgment levy. And when a taxing entity, like the school district here, is required to issue a refund, they often face significant budget shortfalls. Like we talked about, Utah tax law allows entities to address these sudden revenue gaps by adopting a one-time policy rate, or a one-time rate adjustment called a judgment levy. A judgment levy spreads the cost of the tax refunds corrections across all taxpayers within a taxing entity's jurisdiction. So essentially what happens is if a commercial property like we talked about that's centrally assessed gets incorrectly assessed, then we are down that money that they're given back. It comes right out of the money that is given to us here in the district. And so last year in November, we received a check from the county because the county is the collector of those taxes. We were hit in the district for $390,000 for a refund given to a local business entity. And basically what this is now is we are having to go back and correct to get back up to that guaranteed tax level, or that guaranteed revenue level that is available to us under state law. And so essentially what happens is it's a rebalancing. And so we are now paying a correction for what our property taxes should have been last year. To go through this whole process, though, we have to follow what is called the truth and taxation process, and it's a law here in Utah. They made a few minor changes to it through Senate bill this year, but essentially what it is, it's a process that we must follow that requires public disclosure and a public hearing, which we're doing tonight, ensuring transparency and resident input on the proposed levy. So I'm going to get a little bit more now into the numbers and what this actually means for us. But I wanted to give you a little bit of a history here in Uintah County. It's hard to read these numbers because there's a lot of entities, but I'm going to explain this to you. Since the year 2020, in Uintah County, this isn't just the school district, the state has refunded or rebated over $5 million of properties, centrally assessed property tax money to various businesses. Some of those are multi-year refunds, in the case of the top one listed, Caris, which was formerly known as Anadarko Petroleum, received during that time period almost $2.5 million worth of tax rebates that came right out of Uintah County, both the school district, the Uintah County entity itself, our water boards, anything that benefits from property taxes here in our community and county, that came right out of everybody's what they received. We over the last that same time period, the portion that goes to the school district, which is about almost 46%, we are the largest taxing entity here in Uintah County. We lost $2.3 million. So the school district has essentially given up during that period of time $2.3 million that's come out of any extra money we had tucked away, anything that we had, it's come right out of our fund balance. And so we are at the point now where we've cut down to the bone. We no longer have excess money sitting around during COVID and that time period. There were a lot of federal dollars available, and we had a surplus because of that. But we've now used that all up because we chose as a district not to ask the taxpayers to get that money back.
So one reason we were able to do that in the past was we did have a big surplus, right? We had well over $30 million just a few years ago in that account. When I was hired here, that was a concern, is we were overtaxing, right? So we cut almost $5 million, I think $4.7 million out of our local taxes annually, right? So we've definitely tightened our belt that way. And we've spent that money down through the purchase of new facilities, maintenance, all of those things. So some would say, well, you guys have mismanaged money. No, we haven't mismanaged money. We've done exactly what many of the taxpayers have asked us to do. We've spent down the surplus, we cut taxes, and now we're operating tight. Okay? We're operating tight.
Thank you, Superintendent. I've been here 6 months. He's got the benefit of 5 years of looking back, so thank you for that. What this actually means to us, though, right now for this coming year, like I said before on that previous slide, we have the ability to go back and collect what we gave to Caris as a rebate last year. We lost $390,000, actually $390,482. On a tax base, which here in Uintah County, our in 2025, our valuation for all of our properties here in the county was just a shade under $6 billion. It was $5,978,702. So we, as a percentage of that, it is a 0.0065% of our total valuation. Here in Uintah County, the average residential property is valued at $353,000, and the way that the Utah state tax works is, as a resident, you're only taxed at 55% of that value. So, for a $353,000 home, you're actually taxed at $194,000. And a business, though, at that same value, would be taxed for the full $353,000. So, if we rebalance and respread this, that $390,000 amounts to a one-time amount of $12.62 for the average homeowner and $22.95 for an average business owner if your property is assessed at that average of $353,000. I know that there have been some misunderstanding about what this actually means, but that's what it means. This is not a monthly charge. This is a one-time charge. Next year, this amount will not be on our books next year. It's a one-time collection of those dollars, and that's basically what a judgment levy does. Correct.
just for clarification, this has happened year after year after year. So that one time, if we decide again next year to look into it, if it's in that $500,000 again, then possibly that one time would be that taxing season.
Correct. It just depends on what gets appealed, and not only appealed, but what they award. And so this is being done at the Utah State Tax Commission out in Salt Lake City. We have no local control over this. The problem is it gets refunded or rebated out in Salt Lake City, but it impacts us here locally. Correct. And going forward, if we want to collect on that next year, we would have to go through the same truth and taxation process. That's the way that the law is currently structured, to provide full transparency of what's going on. So essentially, that's what our judgment levy is. It's there's not a lot more to share about it than that. It's a correction, and like I showed before, we've given up a significant amount of money over the last 5 years, and we're now at the point where we just no longer have the well to dip into to absorb this. We can't take $500,000 hits every single year and expect to have a stable budget here, because the budget's already set, and then they come in and refund that, and we have no recourse other than this.
And just to clarify, we're talking about money that goes into our capital fund. So this has nothing to do with our general fund or paying salaries or anything like that. This is just money that's used to maintain facilities, build new facilities, purchase technology, because we can do that with capital, and school buses. That's primarily what this money is used for. It's not used to pay teachers or administrators or anything of that nature. Okay.
Thank you, Superintendent. So with that, President, turn the time back over to you.
Thanks, Troy. We appreciate that. As we move into the public comment section of the meeting, I would like to establish some ground rules. There's not a ton of us here, so we did have it to a 3-minute time limit. So we're not going to start jumping up and down at 2.5 minutes and then turn your mic off at 3, okay? Everybody, please just be reasonable. If you go as far as 5 minutes, Tanya's going to keep the clock going. She's going to wave at you, and then we need you to shut down and give the next person an opportunity. But we'd have to keep it to the 3 minutes if there was 100 people here wanting to comment, but I believe that is manageable for the evening. The topic of this hearing has been clearly established through the presentation that you just heard. Please keep your comments related to the judgment levy. We are here to listen to you. We are interested in hearing your thoughts and concern, but we will not entertain any questions at this meeting. Like I said, maybe I'm done. My 3 minutes up, Shauna? Like I said earlier in the meeting, the vote that the board will take on this will be next week. And so with that, do we have the sign-up sheet, Tanya? Shauna? Okay, I mentioned it once earlier in the meeting. If anybody would like to sign up, we're pretty informal. We want to hear from you guys. So if somebody's come in this, I don't care what door you come in. If somebody hasn't signed up on this paper, you can't comment unless you do, but raise your hand and we will bring it to you right now. We'll give them just a minute to get signed up. Does anybody want to sing for us? Vernie? That's the way I am. My own kids ask me not to they shush me when I sing. Has everyone had an opportunity that wanted? Okay. Bernie Heaney, you're first. Yeah, would you speak into the mic? We're having problems tonight, and this needs to be
Broadcast.
out to the public, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Troy, first of all, for explaining that so well. Hopefully everybody has a better understanding now of what the judgment levy is. I also want to thank the board members for being good stewards of our taxpayers' money and not asking us every year to make that up. I personally have sat on several boards, and I think it's nice to have a little rainy day fund for situations like this, but you guys have done that so that you haven't had to increase our taxes in the past. So I want to urge you to vote for the levy next week it is, because otherwise you're going to have to cut the normal budget. And as a retired educator, I don't think any of us want to see any programs cut or teachers cut or anything else. So I urge you to vote yes.
Thank you, Vernie. Is that James? Ryan James? Ryan James, is that correct? Ryan Jones.
It's the first time I've ever done something like this. Can I ask a couple questions? I mean, I've got comments, but it's going toward, the levy's going toward the capital funds, what you said. Is the money already earmarked for something, or is it just there just for in case?
I think that's a fair question. So we have a long-range facilities plan, and we also have a plan just like for next year, for the immediate year. We do forecasting, so we have an idea when roofs are going to go bad on our buildings, when certain systems need to be updated. So there's a real deliberate process in establishing what our needs are and what our plans are for the future.
Okay, because in my case, I run an old family-run business in this town. I run trucks. I have facilities. But I don't have the luxury of a levy. That's just not in the cards for me. So, in fact, I haven't bought a new piece of equipment to go to work with since 2012. So, in my opinion, I would vote no, because I don't have that luxury. And to me, and that's me being in business, I just don't have that luxury. So to me, it's an unfair. It's unfair to other fellow businessmen here in town, and that's why I ask, what is it earmarked for the simple fact that if I understand a roof needs to be done, I understand if things need to be done, but as far as school buses, vehicles for the school district, things that, yeah, they can last, because I can do it. We've done it. I'm running some of the oldest equipment that my business has ever run, and we've been in business since 1940 now. So it can be done from that standpoint. But I also understand that if things need to be done, they need to be done. But I've also understand when you have to tighten your belt and you have to do without. So for me, I would vote no. So, and that's all I got.
Thank you, Ryan. Roland Searle. Roland, are you and your wife speaking separately, or I've got two names here? Okay.
So, Mr. Timothy, explain something to me. So you're saying that my taxes on my home will only go up $12?
For the average priced home, I don't know what your home is assessed at, but for the average home price in Uintah County is $353,000. So for that average home price, it would be $12, correct?
Okay, then how come I'm being charged $1,000?
you won't be on the judgment. That's not the judgment levy that's doing that.
That's what it says here on my tax information.
Would have to take a look at it because it would not charge you that. It's a very modest amount for that size of a property, and you shouldn't, unless you have a house that's worth millions and millions of dollars. I don't.
Can you see my?
I can I can understand. So you can show me after. I'd be glad to take a look at it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Michelle Mansfield.
Thank you for letting me speak here, and I am not related to any of the Mansfields here in Vernal, so get that straight right now. I get asked all the time. So I just want to guarantee that this is not going to happen again next year because my husband is on disability. I went back to school to get a degree. I can't get a job because I am so close to retirement and they will not hire me. With it keeping going up like this, my husband and I can't make it. And it's tearing, we can't even fix our house because we don't have the money with what we're doing. So can you guys guarantee that this is not going to happen next year?
Unfortunately, I myself, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what the state's going to refund to people this year. I honestly don't know what they're going to do, and we would not take this to the community without the board's backing. So I don't know. We won't know probably until next May what's on the docket, to be honest, because that's when we get the final notice from the county that says this is who we've refunded money to, and we don't know until then.
The only way I think that we could guarantee what you're asking is that if the people in Salt Lake don't give someone a refund on their taxes, then I can guarantee you that we won't ask for something that we don't lose. But other than that, there's no one here setting until a vote was to happen next year in this same process that could promise you that.
This is going to sound funny because I don't want you to think that my comment here is that it doesn't matter, because of course it matters, but in a sense it doesn't, because if there isn't a judgment levy, that means the state audit department got the valuations right. Okay, so we're guaranteed X amount of dollars either way. You're not paying more money. You're just paying a little more than what your original assessment was. If they had gotten it right to begin with, your original assessment would have been $12 higher. You see, so all we're doing is recapturing money that you should have paid in the first place.
Well, and my house is not $353,000.
Right, so you would have paid less than that.
When I see that $12 and I look back on mine's $75.
Yeah.
So that is not, those numbers are not correct.
Well, there hasn't been anything, there shouldn't be anything about the judgment levy on your tax notice at this point.
There is.
That's probably not the judgment levy we're talking about right now.
No, it says tonight.
Would there be? Okay. Well, the board
And the
hasn't
school
taken
district
action, so.
Yeah, we
They
haven't taken
showed
action.
last year's
Yeah.
and they showed this year's, and mine went up $75.
Wendy with us. If we could ask her to help us with that question, maybe?
Yeah. Sorry, Wendy.
I know the evaluations came out. You should be on there an estimate, right?
Yes. Would you help? Here's a mic.
Thank you. I think that what you're referring to is the valuation notice that came out in July, and it does show a proposed tax amount under the judgment levy. So that will be a separate line item on your tax notice. It will be separate from the school district, from the basic schools, all those other line items. The judgment levy is a separate line item, and it does show on your valuation notice, and it will show that proposed amount. So as they said and explained it very, very well about the appeal process, for a $350,000 home, it should only show the $12 increase on that. So if it's not, bring it to me, bring it to my office. I'd be happy to look at it and explain it to you.
Okay, because yeah, that, when I saw that, I was like, no, no,
Yeah.
ours went
No,
up
their
75.
figures are correct because I've gone through the numbers as well.
And
So
we don't-
we'll be happy to look at it.
Okay.
Also understand that Central Utah Water is going through a tax increase. That's going to affect your total bottom line as well.
Right.
But we're here tonight just to talk about the judgment levy. It is a separate line item on your valuation notice.
Okay, because I don't live here in
Brenda?
Brenda. I live in in La Pointe.
Wendy.
So
Wendy? Jeez.
That's the other.
No.
She's a recorder.
Yeah, wrong neighbor.
That's okay.
Not everyone knows who you are but on site, so would you tell them who you are and where your office is found?
Okay, I'm Wendy Long. I'm the Uintah County Treasurer, and I am located in the county building on the second floor in the Treasurer's office.
right across from the auditors.
Right.
I know her. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Sorry, Wendy. Brenda lives on top of the hill. And Karen Loris.
Hello. I'm sorry I got here a little bit late, so I didn't hear quite all of the explanation, but I'm confused, I guess. Tina Cannon, the state auditor, has done some audits of school districts recently and has found that there is a big surplus of savings that are not being reported. Like, how would I find out what our districts, like all of it, all of the savings, all the information? Where would I go? Is that the general public's information, or?
Yeah, that's available publicly. It's on, we upload every year after we set our budget. We have the amount we plan to spend. We have what our fund balance is going to be, and it's available on, is it UPEF's? Yeah, so we have our financial statements that we have linked on our district website as well. And the best way to look at them, because they're pretty long, scroll down to the bottom, and that tells you what our fund balance is. Now, every district should have a fund balance because it's kind of you can't burn it down to zero every single year and operate, because sometimes projects or costs move between years, so it's a little bit fluid. But at the end of the day, we want to be able to run as lean as possible. Our problem now in the community is that we have, at the community's behest, spent down our capital funds. We are now in the process of where we need to kind of build back up over the next 5 to 7 years, because if everybody remembers correctly, in the early 2010s, we rebuilt or remodeled all of our schools in the district. So at 20, 25, 30 years, you start having to do roofs, boilers, HVAC systems, and with inflation and the cost of materials, that goes up all the time. So we are modestly trying to build up a little bit so that we can be at the point where we can address those issues without having to bond, which is a tax increase, and try to do it in a smart, well thought out, and transparent way to the community. So that's what we're shooting for.
So with this levy, do we still have quite a good cushion in savings? Like, will this levy take care of this shortfall, but we still have all this over here?
Well, it's different funds, right? So it's not just one big pot of money. The way that it's set up, we have a general fund that pays for our educators, our teachers, our school programs, things like that. We have a capital fund. There's one that's for school foods. A lot of that money is federal. There's also a bond fund that we have a bond here that we're paying off right now. That we're almost paid off, and a couple of pass-through accounts, and then there's one for high school activities. But so you have to look at it that way, and And you can't use money from capital to fund general education, for instance. You can't use foods money to fund capital. So they're kind of, they're separate, and we have to maintain those balances separately.
Okay.
Okay.
I attend a SPED classroom in the district. I don't work for the district, but I attend it every day, and there's just been a lot of rumblings about, oh, our district is short on money, so they're not going to hire anybody for this position or this position, and even though we need all this help for these sweet SPED kids, we can't get it. And so, I mean, so I'm just confused about all the financing stuff, just how it all, you know.
Yeah, I appreciate your concerns. We are going through declining enrollment. So when we talk about our general fund, the fund that does fund salaries, we're just being conservative and cautious right now. So we've held very tight to our staffing ratios, and we're trying to manage our funds smart now, so that in 2 or 3 years from now, as our declining enrollment continues, which we project it will, that we're not having to riff people and you know, take people's livelihood away from them. So what we did this year is we eliminated, what was it, Mr. Lynn, Dr. Lee, 17 positions that we cut, but we did it all through attrition. So we didn't have to fire anybody and say, hey, you know, it's a reduction in force and you've lost your job. Well, we probably cut deeper this year than we really needed to prepare ourselves for what we know is coming, which is a more declining enrollment, because most of our revenue in our general fund comes based on our weighted pupil unit. So it's per kid. So when our kids decrease, so does our revenue. And as long as we adjust our staffing accordingly, we're going to be fine. There's no crisis here, but we're just trying to be smart right now and plan for what we know is coming.
I sure hope so. But it breaks my heart every day to see some of the things that take place, you know, for lack of help and things like that. So that's a concern of mine as well. So just wanted to share that with you. But I hope, as the other gentleman was sharing, the business owner, that somehow we can play a little smarter, that maybe this might not have to happen again. I totally agree with his, you know, management of money message he was trying to share. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, that's the end of those that have signed up for the list. This is my last offer. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment? Oh. Shauna keeps us in line, so we're going to wait for a few minutes. I couldn't figure why we was getting the skank eye. We're going to check online to see if we have public comments on there, and so why the superintendent's doing that.
President, we do have some responses. It looks like we have 5 responses at this time. And I'll go ahead and just share those if that's okay with the board, unless you'd rather just read them. It's up to the board. Do you want to read them, or do you want me to share them publicly?
Let's share them.
Okay. Some of them have, some of them have not. Here we go. Okay. I'm just trying to get to a format where I can see their names and their responses, board members. So I think we're there now. So the first one is from Brandy. There is no last name. Parent of Uintah School District student. And Brandy indicates, the question is, please provide input in the box below relating to the judgment levy public hearing. Why is our savings drained? This feels like we are not managing our money well, as we should. I understand that this year's budget was based on a tax increase that was repealed. However, the tax increase was heavily contested with the possibility of being repealed prior to the creation of the budget. Furthermore, why did the district continue with projects over the summer? So things like the new turf at the high school after the tax was repealed. Wouldn't it have been wise to put those projects on hold and rebuild some of the savings before continuing? I really think the management of our money needs to be evaluated. So that was the response from that person. The next one did not include their name. Would you like me to proceed, board members? Okay, we'll go to the next one. The next one's from Carl Jackman. And Carl, his response is, I see two problems. First, the school district has a spending problem for several years. Second, the error in assessment, which was successfully appealed. Our tax commissions are consistently heavy-handed and consistently in error. Fortunately, the accounting department of the company who was assessed was more competent and probably more fair than the county's accounting assessing. The second error, assessment, for let me see here, for me, has several to bring the first error to light and to punctuate the need for our government at every level to stop overspending public money, especially public money that they do not have. Okay. Next, this comes from Erika Vasquez. You speak Spanish? Sinceros? Okay. She's a staff member here in Uintah School District, and her response, well, she skipped it, so she didn't give us a response. Okay, and finally, the last one is from Lori Dodge. She is a grandparent and a staff member and a Uintah County resident. And she says, I vote no. The superintendent should have taken care of this issue. He gets paid a great deal of money to run the school district. And that's it. So those are our online responses.
Thank you, Superintendent. Without any further business, do I go out of this meeting with a vote? I need a motion.
I motion that we adjourn our judgment levy hearing.
I have a motion by Todd Massey, a second by
I'll second it.
Denise Maynard. Any further discussion, board members? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you all for coming.